While you all are taking your seats, we're going to play just a really quick video for you.
1 Million Cups is a weekly educational program developed by the Kauffman Foundation.
Over the years, we've added more cities. It creates a great energy here to see what's happening across the country.
What I've learned from other entrepreneurs is very, very valuable.
Sitting in a room with other people that have ideas too, it helps people to leave thinking, you know what, my idea is worth something. It's worth pursuing. It's worth going after it. Even if it looks like a challenge, I should still go out and try to do it.
One Million Cups is a weekly.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to 1 Million Cups. If you want to come on in and grab a seat, we've got some open seats here in the front. I am one of your organizers. I'm Milton Jeffrey, and I'm here with Toby, Britton, Courtney, and Brian, the other organizers. Who's here for the first time today? All right, welcome. Welcome to 1 Million Cups. And I take it the rest of you are some of our 1 Million Cups veterans, huh? Here every Wednesday morning? All right, let's see those hands for the veterans too. All right. Thanks for coming out and supporting us. For those of you that are here for the first time, what 1 Million Cups is an entrepreneurial program founded by the Kauffman Foundation. Essentially, we have two presenters come each week, tell a story about their journey for 6 minutes, and then we open it up to the audience for a Q&A for about 20 to 25 minutes. We start those questions with two of our expert panelists that we have with us today, and I'm gonna let them just stand up really quick and say a quick introduction of who they are.
My name is, oh, there it is. Hi. My name is Dwayne Joseph. I own a ACT prep, in-home math tutoring and education consulting business here in Kansas City, and started also a member of the 1 Million Cups family.
Good morning, Jerry Glazier, former corporate recovering kind of guy, but also been involved in 3 startups myself and looking at a couple more, so glad to be here.
Thank you. Let's get things started. Our first presenter, we're going to welcome Sam to the stage from Falling Forward. Falling Forward is a company that helps support patients recovering from catastrophic medical situations. So welcome, Sam.
Good morning. Am I live? Good morning, everybody. I am the founder of a nonprofit called Falling Forward. We are a new nonprofit and very much in startup mode, and we've been operating for just under 2 years, have gotten off to what I would call a strong start. But I'm here today really to seek your advice on how to take Falling Forward to the next level. So a little bit of background about me. I grew up in Illinois. I went to school in Illinois, got my MBA from the University of Chicago, and as most of you know, that's a heavily quantitative school, and I could hold my own with the numbers, but what really I found my passion to be was marketing. Marketing and branding and brand strategies. So throughout my marketing career, here's some of the brands that I worked on. Yes, many things that you've probably purchased. Everything from Cheetos to charcoal. And in 1997, I was approached about an opportunity with Payless Shoe Source. Many of you may know Payless is headquartered over in Topeka. So my wife and I had never been to Kansas before, but we packed up our bags and moved to Kansas. And I joined Payless Shoe Source. I was there for a number of years. And as a marketing guy, you know, Payless is candidly an ugly duckling. And for a marketing guy, you know, my quest was to contemporize Payless and make it a more fashionable and contemporary retailer. So that's my background. So in 2013, I launched Falling Forward. And what Falling Forward is about is we are addressing an issue that I'm going to guess not a person in the room is familiar with, or if so, just a handful of you. It's a completely unknown issue, but the important point is the issue we're addressing has the potential to impact every person in this room. So let me try to illustrate the issue. The issue is an insurance issue, and we're going to start by giving an example. So car insurance, right? Everybody has a car, you have car insurance, you pay your premiums, and if, unfortunately, you have an accident, what do you expect your insurance company to do, right? You've paid those premiums, you expect them to then do their part and fix your car, or replace your car if it's too badly damaged. So that's the way car insurance works. Well, how about a home? If your home is burned down in a fire or a tornado, same thing, right? You've paid your premiums to the home insurance company and you expect them to rebuild your house or to replace your house. That's the way home insurance works. Well, how about medical insurance? If you had a catastrophic injury of some kind, would your medical insurance cover your recovery? And unfortunately, the answer is probably not. But herein is the issue that we're addressing with Falling Forward, and the issue that very few people are even aware of. And the issue is called therapy caps. There's a term in virtually all medical insurance policies, deep in the policy, maybe page 89 or 90, called this therapy cap. And what it says is it puts a limit on how many visits to therapy your insurance company will pay for. And the medical standard today in the United States is 20 or 30 visits to rehab. Now, if you have a knee replacement, let's say, 20 or 30 visits to rehab gets you back on your feet and gets you functioning. If you have a brain injury or something really catastrophic, 20 or 30 is not nearly enough. The question I often get is this all about the Affordable Care Act, that dreaded Obamacare thing? It is not. The issue developed more than 15 years ago. Obamacare did not address it. It didn't make it better. It did not make it worse. But the outcome of these therapy caps, for all those people who have truly catastrophic things that happen to them, their recovery stops. They're working hard in rehab, and then one day they're told, you're done. Their recovery stops, and the outcome is a lifetime of disability. A term that I use, unnecessary disability. So that's the issue that we're fighting. So I did my homework and said, how big is this issue? It's huge. Each year, over 1 million people have these catastrophic events: strokes, brain injuries, and spinal cord injuries. To put it in perspective, that's more than 4 times the incidence of breast cancer. And we're all very aware of breast cancer today. Thankfully, a lot of nonprofits have gotten our attention about breast cancer. But this issue is more than 4 times greater. Again, most people do not fully recover from those events due to the therapy caps. And really sadly, 2/3 of people with a disability never work again. So for our society, what does that mean? It means a lot of people are dropping out. They are no longer productive, they are no longer paying taxes, they are no longer giving back. Here's the good news. Rehab works. There's endless data, endless research studies that show that rehab does work. Even better, and here's the business case, right? I'm a corporate guy, and there is a business case behind this. Rehab saves money. Every $1 spent on rehab saves $11 on long-term disability. How can that be? Well, here's how it is. If you heal me today, if you spend the money to heal me today, you don't have to pay disability payments for the rest of my life, right? It's a short-term versus long-term proposition. The issue, who is going to pay? The burden in the short term is on the insurance companies. They want to avoid that burden. They want to control their expenditures. The disability payments are a burden of the government. So The outcome of rehab is people being disabled and for the rest of their lives collecting disability payments from the government because the insurance companies stop paying. So by now you may be wondering, this marketing guy who sold Cheetos and charcoal, how did he ever, get passionate about this issue? Well, indeed, you may have seen my cane. Indeed, I had a catastrophic event of my own. 4 years ago, my wife and I were on vacation in Tuscany, staying at this beautiful home on a Tuscan hillside. The very first morning of our trip, I got up and bounced out of bed and went down to the kitchen and made coffee, and I went out on this beautiful patio. And I had my iPhone, which I left in my chair over there, but I had my iPhone with me and this beautiful vista in front of me. The sun was rising, so I started taking pictures with my phone, right? This indeed is one of the pictures I took. It's kind of hard to see in the light, but the sun was just rising. There was fog on the hillsides and the Tuscan countryside. I was capturing pictures. I was caught up in the moment, and I was paying more attention to what I was taking pictures of than where my feet were. And in the blink of an eye, as I was taking pictures, I stepped off of a 15-foot wall. Up in the upper right corner is the wall where I was standing and taking my pictures, and I ended up down here. The fall knocked me out. I was unconscious for some time. My wife got out of bed and found me. And when I came to, I was paralyzed. I had a spinal cord injury. I had no feeling from the waist down. I was airlifted out, and my journey of rehab began. To make my story very short, I went through 2 years of rehab. At 30 visits to rehab, when most people hit their therapy cap, I was still in the wheelchair. The key point of my personal story was we found out we had a very unique insurance policy. We did not realize our insurance policy, deep in the policy, said unlimited therapy, no therapy cap. As long as my body was recovering, they had to pay to keep funding my rehab. And I went through 2 years of rehab. I went from that wheelchair to a walker, to crutches, and ultimately to a cane. And today I walk with a cane. I got my life back because of that fluke in our insurance. But while I was in rehab for 2 years, I met hundreds of other patients who had brain injuries and spinal cord injuries and strokes. And while I continued to recover, one by one, they were sent home. She was sent home on Friday because her insurance ran out. He was sent home the next week. His insurance ran out. And each person, when they were sent home, had not fully recovered. Their recovery was now over, and they were disabled for the rest of their life. I thought this was wrong. I couldn't believe that someone wasn't making noise about this issue. I thought to myself, why me? Why have I been given the chance to recover, but all these other people not? And then my epiphany one day was, why me? Why me? Because I'm supposed to go do something about it. So my do something about it was starting Falling Forward. And our vision is a pretty clear-cut vision. Every patient should have the chance that I had to recover to their full potential. As long as their body is healing, keep recovering, keep going to rehab, keep funding their rehab. What makes us very different from many other nonprofits are the words bolded down here. Many other nonprofits are about supporting people who are disabled, making their lives easier once they are disabled. Our mission is very different. Our mission is about avoiding disability. Again, back to the term I mentioned earlier of unnecessary disability. If people are given the chance to continue rehab and to recover, they don't have to be disabled. And that's what we are all about. So, 3 action items. First and foremost is building awareness. This issue is something that virtually no one has ever heard of. So I'm out doing public speaking like this to a lot of Rotary clubs and civic organizations and churches and all over the place. Also, thankfully, getting enough media interviews to help keep spreading the word, doing a lot of social media. This is the first step in making the case to our donors as well, because none of our donors have ever heard of this issue. Our fundraising program, we have, I believe, a very unique offer to our donors. 100% of every donation goes to patient care. We have 0 admin costs. I have no staff. I have volunteers, thankfully. I have a board, a fantastic board of 9 wonderful people, but I have no day-to-day staff. So I have no administrative costs, and every dollar that somebody gives to Falling Forward takes care of a patient. We're operating now in 3 states, in Kansas, Missouri, and Colorado. But we tell our donors in all 3 of those states, your money is staying local. There are people here today in Kansas City having a stroke that need help. Your dollars are going to stay right here to help that person in Kansas City. And it's working. We are showing our donors they're changing people's lives. There's a direct line of sight to the impact that our donors' dollars are making.
Sam, we do want to get to the Q&A also. Do you think you can wrap it up for us?
Yep, we'll do.
Thank you.
So we're affiliated with 3 rehab centers, Kansas City, Lawrence, and out in Denver, Colorado. Here's the business model, just to make that clear to you. We make grants, the rehab centers, and then the staff of the rehab centers allocate it out to patients and say, she needs 10 more visits to rehab, he needs 40 more visits to rehab. It's not charity. 99% of the patients have therapy caps, hence everyone is needing, not just the uninsured. And here's what we've done. We've funded 27 people so far, 7 with strokes, 10 with brain injuries, 10 with spinal cord injuries. Average age 38. People with a lot of life ahead. Get them healed today, they go back and they're productive. And it's working. And I'm going to quickly hit these and then we'll go to questions. Lisa had a spinal cord injury from a horseback riding accident. A year and a half later, she is walking. Jason, traumatic brain injury from a bicycle accident. He was wearing a helmet, but his head hit the ground at over 30 miles an hour. Severe traumatic brain injury, much over a year of rehab. Today, Jason is fully recovered. He is driving, he is working, and most important to him, he is a parent again to his 10 children. Ed is an athletic coach, a very fit man. He had a stroke. Strokes happen to all kinds of people for very unpredictable reasons, even healthy, active people. Ed's stroke disabled the entire left side of his body. After more than a year of additional rehab, Ed is back to work as a coach, and Ed went to Washington with me to talk about this issue in Washington. And this is my last slide before questions. The third piece of our program is advocacy. The ultimate solution to this issue is legislation that says that none of you should have a therapy cap. We've been to Washington twice. We've talked with 7 congresspeople and senators. So far, our batting average is good. 6 of the 7 agree with us that this needs to be changed. We've also joined 2 large national coalitions working on this issue. So now I'm seeking your advice and your questions, please.
We'll go ahead and start with our panel. Dwayne.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation, and also thank you for taking an event that you had that was traumatic and helping others with it. My question is, I'm not sure if you had a chance to do this, but could you explain to us the process a patient who needs to have your services? Could you explain that process and how they would go about getting it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're affiliated with 3 rehab centers, Kansas City and Lawrence and out in Denver. The majority of the patients that we are funding are already patients of those 3 rehab centers. They are there today, they are doing their rehab, their insurance is funding it, but they are about to run out. And the staff of the rehab centers who are working with them see that their insurance is about to run out, and the staff taps into the grant that we have made. So for many of the patients, there's no action needed by the patient themselves. They're already under the roof of the rehab center, they're already doing their work there, and so the staff tap into the funding. However, through all of the outreach I'm doing and the speaking I'm doing and the media interviews that I'm getting, a lot of people are hearing about this and saying, wow, I have a family member who had a brain injury, or I have a family member who had a stroke. How can they be helped by Falling Forward? And for those people who are in the broader community and they need help, we refer them to the 3 rehab centers. And they make an application to the rehab center. They go and meet there. A therapist at the rehab center evaluates them and says, what is this patient's current deficits and what type of rehab does this patient need to complete their recovery? So any family members or patients that contact me, I refer them to the rehab centers to start that process, to meet with the people at the rehab centers. Great question, thank you.
My question has to do with the funding itself. I mean, this is a very expensive type of service that's offered. So one question is does the rehab centers discount in any way for those patients that get referred, you know, because you're giving grant money to do it? And then second of all, I think on your website you highlighted one of the companies, I think Medtronic or something, that provides some funding and mentioned that. But even that amount of money is minute compared to probably what is needed in a lot of cases.
Yep. I'm going to, I think, give 3 answers on your question. The first one is rehab is expensive, no doubt. But our experience so far, our average patient is about $5,000. $5,000. Pennies to most insurance companies. Now, we've had patients that needed 4 more visits to rehab, and we've had patients who have needed another 1.5 years of rehab. There's a broad range. So the 5,000 average is, you know, just that, it's an average. But it truly is not as expensive as many people would imagine it to be. You know, the burden on the insurance company might not be as great as they would imagine it to be. Our funding sources, primarily so far, have been from individual donors, right? The outreach and all the speaking I'm doing, individual donors hear the story, hear what we're doing, changing lives, and they want to help be a part of that. So most of our funding has come from individual donors. We've had 1 grant so far from a company called Medtronic, and we definitely see much more potential for grants, and we're putting much more energy around applying for grants. Does that answer what you want? Yep, great, thank you.
We also want to open it up to the audience. We've got a question here in the middle. Actually, I see 2 or 3 hands.
Hi, my name is Dr. Ahmed, president of Live Active Primary Care. My co-founder in Health Suite 110 is Dr. Kylie Vandeman with Casey Family Doc. We love what you're doing.
Thank you.
And one of the things I would advise is forming partnerships. And so we actually go out to the community, and when you start negotiating, for me as a physician, cash prices. So our imaging, labs, pathology, et cetera. Physical therapy is something that we pound the pavement with. And we've talked to several PT organizations across the city, and it's remarkable that the prices become significantly less. When you take insurance companies out of the game, they're willing to play. So we should probably get together.
I would love to talk.
Because
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of times we talk and pound the pavement, it takes time away.
Yeah.
But if you build partnerships and form a team and attack it that way, it's more efficient.
Absolutely agree. And you reminded me, thank you, and I'm sorry I didn't address that piece of your question. The rates that we are paying at the 3 rehab centers, they are all negotiated rates. And the insurance companies do the same thing, right? The insurance companies negotiate a rate with every facility where they're making payments. So we've negotiated rates with each. I'm proud to say that the rates that we are paying are significantly lower than anything that is publicly available and any of the rates that are paid by the insurance companies. The rehab centers want people to heal. The rehab centers want to see patients continue. So they have skin in the game. They have said, we will give you a rate that just covers our base costs to keep that patient coming and continuing to heal. They are invested. It's like family at a rehab center. So our rehab partners, all 3, have given us exclusive rates that I can't disclose publicly, but that's an important piece of the business equation. So sorry I missed that part of your question.
Question here in the back.
Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Holmes Osborne. I've got a comment and a question. My first comment is when you're showing those Clorox brands, you might want to show Kansas City Masterpiece. It resonates with the locals. Second question is can you would you mind sharing the congressmen who are for and against your proposition?
Yeah, so on my slide, I'll go back there, actually. So on the left is Lynn Jenkins of Kansas. In the middle is Dick Durbin of Illinois. And on the right is Missouri Senator, I just blanked. Blunt, thank you. And they are all 3 in favor. We've also talked with Illinois Senator Mark Kirk, who is recovered from a stroke. He's very much an advocate of rehab. A Maryland senator named Cardin, who is a strong advocate for this issue. The outlier, I'm sorry to say, is a Kansas Senator, Pat Roberts. So, yeah.
Another question here in the front.
Yes, indeed.
Good morning. My name is Blair Kolkowski, and first of all, I just wanted to thank you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
You're on a hero's journey right now, and a lot of people get the call, but they refuse the call. And you accepted the call, and that's very bold and very courageous.
Thanks.
So I just wanted to let you know that.
I've been very blessed. So my life was changed, and it's important to me to change other people's lives.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my comment is I'm a strategic advisor. I work with entrepreneurs and leaders and business owners. And it was funny. I wasn't sure if I was going to get up and speak, but I was going to talk about Medtronic, and you mentioned them. One of the things they do at their annual meeting, which they have every year, they fly people in from all over there. And instead of getting up on the podium and talking about how great their products and services are, they fly in patients. And patients get up on the podium in front of hundreds and hundreds of people,
Wow.
and they share their testimonial. And it's one of the most powerful annual meetings of any company in the world. So I realize that your company's small right now, but as you grow it, you bring those people in like Medtronic does, and you put them up there, and all they need to do is tell their story.
Yeah.
What you did to help them, and that has been a huge, powerful thing for Medtronic.
Yeah, that's an awesome idea. And I'd also, if we can connect after, I'd like to see if we can't get into the Medtronic meeting, because they have helped fund our patients. So that'd be awesome. Thank you.
We have a question on your left.
Yeah, please.
Hi, Sam. I would echo everything the last gentleman said, and my question: I've never heard of a not-for-profit that gives 100% of their proceeds to the to your patients.
Yep.
And my question is, how do you put food on your table?
My wife works. And we've chosen to, I guess, scale back somewhat in our personal lifestyle, at least to get this going. And I'm thrilled to be here today because the core premise of 1 Million Cups is right, helping entrepreneurs, helping startup people. And we're very much a startup, and my contribution to Falling Forward, I put seed money in, I'm putting money in to get this thing going, and all of you here who are entrepreneurs are doing the same thing, right? You are putting seed money in to get your dream out and to make it successful. So the 100% pledge is something that's been very attractive to our donors, and it's also been one of the biggest questions of how long can you sustain that? My answer back is I don't know how long I can sustain it, but I'm going to sustain it as long as I can, because I believe in what I'm investing in, and our donors believe in what they're investing in. But indeed, someday I will have to build an organization and have to have staff, and we won't be able to do that pledge anymore. So great question. Thank you.
So for our final question, we would like to ask you, what can we do as a community to help you?
Thank you for asking. Probably the biggest thing would be making connections, right? Each time I speak, each time I meet new people, literally 10 or 12 more doors open, right? Doors that I never expect to open, taking us in directions that I don't expect to go. Missouri Senator Blunt, I was introduced to Missouri Senator Blunt by a pastor of a church. I spoke at the church, and the pastor happens to be a good friend of the senators, right? So each time people make new connections for me that I don't know that are out there or don't expect. So any connections that any of you would have to individuals, to organizations that would be of interested in what we are doing. Secondly, suggesting a resource, right? I am a one-man band. I'm looking for any resources out there that can help me manage the responsibilities so I can focus on the outside work, if you will, and not have to bother with the inside work. And thirdly, keep helping us spread the word. I've already seen tweets, which is awesome. We're also on Facebook. Please help me share this. Make all of your friends and followers aware of therapy caps and aware that disability is unnecessary. People can heal from catastrophic injuries. And my contact information is on the slide. I've got some cards also at the back, and I'd be delighted to have one-on-one discussions later today, or call me, or love to set up meetings to talk further with anybody.
Thank you so much for your presentation today.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Do you want your mic?
Okay, so we're gonna look for some 1 Million Cups Mug Club people. If you've been here more than 10 times, please raise your hand. Good morning. Meanwhile, while they're coming around to grab a couple of people, I'm gonna do some announcements. This week is Casey Local Week. There are different events going on each day. Yesterday was wear your favorite local t-shirt, so I'm extending it to Wednesday. How's that? Also, tomorrow there is a Collisions and Coffee event at Think Big with Sam Mears. If you haven't heard him speak, I would advise you going to that tomorrow morning. And there's a couple other announcements on the announcement sheet. Check it out. You guys want to come up? No. Come on. Just tell a little bit about yourself and why you come to 1 Million Cups.
I'm Jody Kramer, and I work for Spencer Reed. I'm an executive recruiter, and I was laid off a year ago. And I just love the energy and recognizing and reminding myself there's a different way to work, and that's why I come. It energizes me.
I'm Jeff Chapman. I'm with the Block School UMKC. How many people are UMKC related in some way? I'm here because of you. We want more of you to come through the Block School or UMKC and either through it, after it, and then we want everyone here to make lots of money and be very successful and then give back to a local university, maybe across the street.
Thank you.
Becky Larison, I work with UMB. I've worked with small businesses for years. Really just come to hear what's going on in the community and see if there's ways that we can help you.
Great, thank you so much. If you guys would just go over there and Britton can get your information for Twitter. Okay, so our second presenter today is Connor Nowak from EchoGrade.
All right, so good morning, everybody. My name is Connor Nowak, and I'm the founder of EchoGrade. And to start off today, in honor of the start of the school year, we're going to do a quick one-question pop quiz. You can tweet your answers to the board if you'd like. And the question is, what is the #1 most effective way for teachers to help their students to learn? Is it A, technology-based instruction? Is it B, giving great lesson plans? Or is it C, giving great feedback? Oh, wrong way. Which way? This way. Okay, good. Yes, so as you can see, research tells us that letter C, giving great feedback, is the #1 most effective way. In fact, it's found to be so effective that the difference between giving great feedback and not giving feedback at all is a year or more of learning growth. But in order to be that effective, feedback needs to be personalized. It needs to be given to the individual student and not as a class. It needs to be given in a timely fashion. And it needs to be feedback that students can use to move forward towards a learning goal. And so I was a teacher for 4 years. I taught high school math. 2 years I taught it at Alta Vista here in Kansas City, and I knew the research. And so my attempts to apply it to my classroom were not always so successful. So I would pass out papers to my students every day, and I would collect them, and then I would grade them maybe that day or maybe not, maybe about a week later. But eventually, usually, I would get around to spending hours and hours writing on student assignments. And then I would give back the papers the next day, or again, maybe not, maybe the next week if I remembered. And usually I just kind of tell the students like, oh yeah, these were some sort of common mistakes, and we'd go over them at the beginning of class. And if I did get around to getting the papers back to my students, it was usually so far after the fact that I often found them left on the floor because they were so insignificant at that point. And so the feedback I was giving wasn't actually any of the things that we know good feedback is. And it turns out I'm not the only person that's having this problem. I've talked to teachers all around Kansas City and around the country, and they've all said that this is something that they struggle with doing. Just the process is so unmanageable. And so I knew there had to be a better way, and that's why I designed EchoGrade. And EchoGrade is an app to help manage the feedback process. So instead of collecting papers, students submit their work by taking a picture of it. Teachers receive that work. They're able to draw on the picture. They can leave a score, and they can leave comments. Now, students receive that feedback immediately from their teachers. And not only that, they are able to write back to their teachers and start a conversation about the work to make sure that they really understand. So they get that individual one-on-one personalized attention. They get it in a timely manner, and they get descriptive feedback that they can use to move forward towards their learning goals. And so there are a lot of apps out there about giving feedback. One of the most popular ones is Socrative. But what a lot of apps do is they try and speed up the feedback process by relying on multiple choice questions or on true or false type questions. And so it's great feedback for the teacher to see where their class is, but it robs the student of that personalized understanding of where they are beyond just knowing that they were right or wrong. Now, one app that is doing the personalized feedback very well is Google Classroom, but they're mostly focused on work that you type into a computer, so papers or sometimes presentations or things that are often graded. So we're focused on things that are happening outside of the computer space.
And so we'd like to think we're a flexible enough product that we could fit into any classroom in the K-12 system, but the reality is that there are some areas that we fit better in. And so typically we fit better when students are of an age where they have their own device and not babies. And so, but also, so that tends to be about 5th through 12th grade. We also, as I said, fit better in assignments or courses where the work is harder to enter into computer form, so math, science, even the visual arts. And then finally, we fit best in assignments that are small as opposed to large tests or papers. So there's a lot of technology around how to grade big tests very quickly, and we're trying to find a niche that's smaller but equally as important to the learning process. And so just to give you a sense of our timeline, we were one of the inaugural Lean Lab Fellows. We started last summer. We launched our app in March, and we piloted through the spring. And so we've spent the summer basically getting ready to launch for this year. So we've been traveling to teacher fairs and trying to get teachers to sign up to use for this year. And we already have a number here in Kansas City and around the country. But even if you're not a teacher, you can be a part of helping us out. So we're looking to talk to people and to meet people. And so first of all, we're looking to talk to and meet educators. So if you're a parent in the audience, tell your child's teacher about EchoGrade and how they can use it to help your children. Or if you know a teacher, or you happen to have a friend that's a teacher or something like that, we'd love to talk to them. We always like talking to teachers. And the second thing, we're looking to increase our web presence. And so we'd love to get some help and some advice on that. So if you're like a social media guru or a blogger or maybe an online journalist, we'd love to connect with you and see how we can better get the word out about what we're doing. So that's the story on EchoGrade. Thank you very much.
Great presentation. As a former high school math teacher, I could definitely have used this in my classroom because instant feedback to kids is very, very important. I see that you're focusing on teachers accepting this particular platform in their classroom, but have you thought about going to the district, into the school districts, speaking with them about purchasing your program for the classrooms?
Yeah, so that's it's a question we get a lot. So I think right now, in the stage that we're in the early stage, we want to make sure we have an excellent product for teachers. And so I actually didn't mention this, our pricing model is an annual subscription for teachers, which is another question that we get a lot, why not have the districts pay? And I think if we can get the validation from teachers that say like, hey, I like this product and I'm willing to pay my own money to have it, then we'll know, that we have something good going forward. And then we can move into conversations with the district. But I know when I was a teacher, and I don't know if you felt the same way, but like we would get these products all the time and be like, hey, you can use this to, do, I don't know. I was like, I don't need this. So why are we spending money on this? Couldn't you just put that in my paycheck? So, in the long term, we're looking to districts, but for right now, we're focused on teachers. So.
Connor, a couple thoughts. One is on your website, which is relatively simplistic, kind of a one-pager for a lack of a better term. I think it would help you if you had some either teacher testimonials or student testimonials that actually can show, how it works. My second thought on this is around the whole communication thing and potentially an issue around students avoiding talking to their teachers because now they can just do it. Their assignments and stuff, and they can type it in and whatever, and they don't have to talk to them. And is there an issue around communication style and that type of thing where now all I have to do is type it in versus actually having to sit down with the teacher face to face, and what implications that might have?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, and one that I don't think I thought of. I think when we're thinking about the communication piece,
we know there are students that are not going to have the conversation anyway. So if we give, when it's face-to-face, so if we give them a way to still get to the knowledge and have something that they feel comfortable with, then at least we're improving them academically. I don't know how, in the long term, how that affects their development as, as people who have to go out in the world and talk with other people. So it's not, so it's something I would have to think about, but I think for right now, we're just focused on the idea that, hey, at least there's some avenue of communication that we know our students are comfortable with using. So.
Yeah, and certainly there's teachers that are able to give better feedback than others, that just have a skill set that's better for that. But now you've also created a deal that if you have a teacher that doesn't want to give feedback and a student that's not interested in feedback, is there a void now that's created because now all they're doing is back and forth electronically?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that would be interesting to see. We haven't come across that yet. I think the teachers who are using have found it to be an asset, not necessarily the only thing that they use, but sort of like one teacher described it as like all part of this complete breakfast of giving feedback. Like this is one way that they can use it, and it's not necessarily at the expense of the individual one-on-one conversation or things like that. So we haven't seen it, but we may in the future.
We're going to open up questions to the audience. So question right here.
Nice idea. Multi-part question. How are you funded? What does it cost a teacher to buy this thing? Is that a discount because you are in the validation or testimonial gathering phase? And what's your installed base?
Sure. So we are bootstrapping at this point, and so I was a teacher up until this summer. So we've basically been making it work with personal funding. It's a $60 a year subscription for teachers, so less than Netflix, and it's for those who what was the third part of your question? Oh, is there a discount? No. I think, again, in seeking validation, we'd like to know that teachers will pay the full price. And then the last one was how many teachers? So we have I think, over 200 users, about 25 of which are teachers, and then the rest are students. So 175 are students. So it's modest at this point, but we're looking to grow, which is why we're here. So.
Got a question in the back.
Good morning, Connor.
Hello, Bill.
I've had the privilege of watching Connor's idea develop since almost day one, about a year ago at the beginning of the Lean Lab Fellowship. And one, I'm impressed with how you've sharpened your focus. I think particularly the idea that let's bring this down to an audience that is likely to use this channel to communicate with their teachers when they might not use any other. So to me, I'm really impressed with the progression of your understanding of the product and your marketplace, and happy to see that you're out there now getting some feedback. So my question would be, looking back over the last 15 months and knowing a little bit about how you got to that point, what do you have to say about the course of entrepreneurship?
Certainly not a small question. I mean, I think, I don't know, for me, we tried to play by the book as far as always talking with customers, and that has been the number one best thing to do. I mean, there's just you learn so much just by digging in, figuring out what people are already doing, and I think that's sort of how every decision that we've made in some way has been based on an aggregate of things that people have said. So that's my current reflection, although I know that we have a long way to go. And so maybe next time I present, I'll have more things to say about it. Thanks, Bill.
Question to the center.
All righty, Connor. First of all, great presentation, and if you need anything with social media, I would love to discuss that with you afterwards. But my question focuses on, have you targeted several major school districts here in the Kansas City, Missouri area, such as Blue Valley, Olathe, Shawnee Mission, and what is your strategy behind that, and how you're going to introduce them to your product?
Yeah, so I think our interaction with districts, I mean, first of all, we're talking to anyone that will talk to us. So through various teacher networks that I'm affiliated with, I've talked to some instructional technology coaches and things in a variety of districts, and I've talked to a couple of superintendents. But I think, like, as a teacher, when I was using a product, I was using products that were I was told about by another teacher. It was all word of mouth. And so what our strategy with different districts is, we're trying to get a couple of teachers in the district that are really passionate about what we're doing. And so we have a teacher like that in Liberty who has been telling her, her friends and colleagues about what we're working on. And so then once we hit a critical mass of teachers in the district, that's when we plan to go to the district and say, like, hey, look at all these teachers using this product. Don't make them pay out of pocket. You should be, and we can kind of work on a deal. So we have, like I said, we haven't reached out quite at the top level from a sales perspective, but only in getting to know people and just getting feedback on the idea.
Question here in the middle.
Hi, great presentation. I think a great app. I'm with MCH Strategic Data. We're a company that specializes in, we have a database of 5 million K-12 educators that we help education marketers reach out to. So we should probably talk a little bit afterwards. I would recommend that we work with a company called edweb.net. It is actually a social media site for teachers. And there's a community on there called EdFocus that I think you might want to take a look at, that has a lot of education marketers and content for education marketers. But it's also a great way maybe to get your app out in the EdWeb community of educators at no cost, and take a look and get some feedback and get some downloads.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you. Thank you for the suggestion.
Question or right? No.
Really?
Easy there, Toby. I want to put a bug in your ear. Effective feedback and good communication is more than a problem at youth education. It's a huge corporate issue, And there might be a really good market for this as well in that arena. The ability for managers to communicate to trainees, especially in the labor force effectively, is something that really needs help. Fortune 50 companies struggle with it daily. So you might see about that.
Yeah, that's great. So we're a part of the Sprint Mentor Network, and we're working with a vice president at Sprint, and we've sort of talked about this idea of how, obviously, my heart is in K-12 education. That's what I love, and so I would like to see this be as effective as possible in that realm. But it's definitely something that's that we've talked about. So thank you, I appreciate it.
Question back here.
Interesting idea, and if you were designing a classroom from the ground up, it would be easy to integrate this into that process. However, our public education system is somewhat fixed, and so I'm curious about what the barriers of adoption are in getting this integrated into that classroom experience. And so you're in a year into this journey, so maybe you've spent some time thinking about that, and if you know what the couple top barriers of adoption are, I'd love to hear them. If you don't, I'm curious about how you're going to use the upcoming year with that initial subscriber base to explore that issue.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, and it's one that we're sort of learning more about as we go. I mean, I think much of the work that we've done has been on product and how to make the product the best that we can, and now we're sort of shifting into why are people signing up, why are they not signing up. I think that there are barriers to adoption around technology. So students don't necessarily all have smartphones. There are ways, I mean, teachers that really want to use the product find ways around it. Like a teacher of ours in Tennessee said he just grades any student who doesn't have a smartphone by hand. And so, you know, he had a conversation with a student about it. We're also accessible, like you can access the app through a website. So if you have any connected device, you can use that. So that's been one thing. I think there are also sort of strict rules in schools about how technology is used. And so, you know, I taught in a charter school, and so we had a little bit more freedom to explore these things. And so, you know, I think right now we're focused on schools, well, anyone, we'll take anyone that wants to use it, but any school that has a more sort of open technology policy is what we're focused on now. And I think, you know, I think this is the primary question that we're asking ourselves at this stage. So I could have a better answer for you in 6 months, but.
Another question here.
Good morning, Connor. My name is George Owens. From a parent's point of view and someone that has young kids, you've got a really great product. And a couple of stories, like 10 or 12 years ago, whenever I didn't understand text messaging, I'm driving down the road and my son is over there texting away. And I said, "What are you doing? Why don't you just call those people?" And he said, "I don't want to talk to them." So then last year, my stepson, who is 16, is taking an advanced math class, and he's having trouble. He's struggling. He's gotten a couple bad grades on paper. And his mom said, "Why don't you go talk to the teacher and ask for help?" And he's like, "I don't want to do that." He's like, "I'm in an advanced math class. I don't want all those other kids to think I don't know what's going on." So that's what you're solving, that peer pressure. And there's a lot of people in this room, us adults, that don't want to raise their hand and say, well, I don't understand. So if you can do it through the app, I think that's a good product. I think that'll solve a lot of problems for a lot of kids.
Well,
so, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Nick, my co-founder, who is the technical co-founder, is like, I never once in high school raised my hand, and so he's feeling the same thing. So.
Okay, another question here on the left.
I too have got teenagers, and I just didn't know whether or not you gave any consideration to having a different model for the study groups that may give you the introductions to the teachers. So if you think about how kids are learning now, they're tied to their device. I think sometimes they sleep with their device, and they're constantly back and forth between their own peers as far as how did you solve this problem, how did you solve that problem. And it may be a way to get into the education space without a whole lot of work from the top down.
Yeah, so that's a really great point. It's something we thought about. There is a great app that does that. It's called Math Chat, and it's for peer-to-peer interaction. And so, yeah, so it's something that we want to add a peer element, definitely at some point. But I think right now, like, there's something that, like, it's more than just when you interact between teacher and student, it's more than just giving academic help and advice. There's a motivational element there. When my students say it all the time, I mean, when I take the time to go through their work, it feels to them like I care about them and like I want them to succeed and that I believe that they can succeed. So we're really honing, at this stage in the game, we're really honing in to try and make that relationship as strong as possible so that we can motivate our students as well as make them better learners. But point taken, it's a great avenue that we're thinking about as well.
Question, back right.
Hey, Connor, first of all, I want to applaud you for leaving teaching and then giving back to teaching. And I think that's a really bold step. Something I just left teaching, so I'm trying to figure out what that's like for me too. But I left elementary school, and I want to say first the niche 5 to 12 grades, that there's the big role for this in the elementary school too, with all the iPad integration now. They did Edmodo, a kind of a Facebook-style interaction thing that was during the school time, after school time. So there's a lot of kids that are ready for technology and feedback via technology. And I was an elementary PE teacher, so I could see a video feedback system working with this kind of a device or app where there was assignments outside of school and they had to videotape, developing a routine and giving feedback with video as well. whether it's form of something, or in music, doing their recorder testing before they come to school, so you don't have to waste all their time doing that.
Yeah.
But I don't leave out those elementary schools. They're willing and ready and needing good apps as well.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And you know, we're considering, you know, adding a video element. Obviously, that's a lot more space, and I mean, we need to get this right first with pictures. But we have talked to music teachers, we have talked to PE teachers who people aren't always making apps for. You know what I mean? There's so much focus on math and reading. And as to your other point about elementary, I mean, again, we would love to also be in the elementary space. I think it's something we've heard from a lot of elementary teachers, like, oh, maybe when my kids get older, you know, things like that. But I think next step in the game is to explore how we can build out to the entire K-12 system.
Thank you, sir. Connor, before I let you go, what is the last, well, that was good. What can we as a community do for you?
All right, so as I said, if you know a teacher, if you're, you know, those of you who said, you know, you have especially high school age children, but even, you know, even elementary student, you can talk to a teacher, or you can connect them with me. And also, like I said, if you're a social media or internet whiz, we'd love to get some advice and feedback on how we can build our brand out on the web. So
Great. Well, thank you very much. Great job. Hang out. We'll have some people have some questions for you. I want to do a special thank you to the Lean Lab for helping us bring some great entrepreneurs up on the stage. Keep it up. So thank you for that. You guys, this is the end of our program for today. Thank you for coming out. And your task for next week is not only come back, but bring a friend and share it on social media. So thank you. Have a great night or day.